Just after Christmas, I found out my entire marriage was a lie, and it all started with one awkward dinner party conversation. My wife, 44F, and I, 43M, have been married 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school. Not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college room commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got real quiet, and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife on the way home, and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again, she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day, she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable, no matter when it happened, and the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Update 1. After I filed for divorce, everything blew up. My wife wasn't ready to let it go. She started with the "it was so long ago" argument, like that would erase the fact that she hid it from me for decades. She even pulled out the whole "you were my first real love" thing, which made me laugh because how does that even count when she was sleeping with half her college? The thing is, I was firm. I told her I couldn't unsee the disrespect, especially because she introduced me to some of the guys like they were just friends. I told her that's some next-level betrayal. It's not just cheating, it's lying to my face repeatedly and making me unknowingly play along. She got quiet, but I didn't care. I went straight to my brother's place to cool off because I knew staying under the same roof was going to get messy. The day after I left, her family started calling. Her mom, her sister, even her dad, all of them basically gave me the same speech about how marriage is about forgiveness and people change. I told them that forgiveness doesn't mean I have to stay in a marriage where trust was trashed so thoroughly. Her dad was actually kind of understanding, but her mom? She was brutal. She said I was being selfish, that I should think about the kids and how this would destroy their idea of a happy family. I said the kids are almost adults, and if anything, I'm teaching them that they don't have to accept betrayal from someone who's supposed to love them. That shut her up for a bit. Now, about the kids. My 19-year-old daughter heard about the divorce from her mom, who spun it like I was overreacting to something from a lifetime ago. My daughter called me to ask what really happened, and I was honest without going into all the gross details. I told her that her mom cheated on me while we were dating with multiple people and kept it a secret for 20 years. My daughter was shocked, but she said, "Well, if that's how you feel, I get it." She even admitted she thought her mom downplayed the situation. My 17-year-old son, on the other hand, was pissed. Not at me, but at his mom. He flat out told her she was a hypocrite because she always preached honesty to him and my sister. Apparently, he's barely talking to her now. Fast forward a few weeks, and my wife started trying every trick in the book to make me stay. She suggested we do a vow renewal, like that would fix everything. She even suggested a second honeymoon, which made me laugh because what? We're supposed to go to the Bahamas and pretend she didn't lie to me for 2 decades. When I said no to all of that, she broke down crying and said I was her soulmate, that she never loved anyone like she loved me. I told her if that was true, she wouldn't have cheated on me and kept it hidden for years. At one point, I started wondering if I was doing the right thing. Not because I thought I should forgive her, but because the amount of backlash I was getting from her side of the family was insane. They started posting vague stuff on social media about how true love means forgiveness and real men fight for their families. It was exhausting. My own mom even called me and said she thought I should reconsider. But when I asked her if she'd stay with my dad if he cheated on her for 2 years, she got real quiet and said, "Well, I don't know." Exactly. The final straw came when I found out she was still in contact with one of the guys she hooked up with in college. Apparently, they'd been messaging on Facebook for years, just friendly stuff according to her. I told her I didn't care if they were talking about the weather. The fact that she kept any kind of relationship with someone she cheated on me with was the ultimate slap in the face. She said she didn't see the big deal since it was all in the past. That's when I realized she genuinely didn't understand how badly she screwed up. I officially moved out in mid-January. My brother has been a lifesaver through all this. He's the one who reminded me that I deserve someone who doesn't see me as plan B. He told me to think about all the times I thought we had this perfect love story, only to find out it was built on lies. He said, "You can't rewrite history, but you can rewrite your future." Cheesy, but it hit hard. The divorce process has been slow, mostly because my wife is dragging her feet. She's still hoping I'll change my mind, but I've made it clear there's no going back. Every time she tries to guilt trip me, I just remind her that this isn't about one mistake, it's about years of lies and disrespect. Here's the kicker, though. One of her old college roommates reached out to me. She apologized for the awkward dinner and said she felt bad for not saying anything sooner. She also let slip that there were more stories about my wife's wild years that I might not know about. I didn't ask for details because, honestly, I don't think I can handle more. It's like every time I think I've hit rock bottom with this, I find out there's another layer of betrayal. At this point, I'm just focusing on getting through the divorce and being there for my kids. My son is still mad at his mom, and my daughter is trying to play peacemaker, but I told them both that they don't have to pick sides. I'm not going to badmouth their mom to them, even if I feel like I have every reason to. I just want them to know that I love them and that this has nothing to do with them. More updates if anything wild happens, but for now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Update 2. Alright, so things have gotten even messier since the last update. I thought I was just dealing with a straightforward divorce, but apparently, I've got more surprises waiting for me. My wife, or I guess soon-to-be ex-wife, decided to up her game, and not in a good way. First, let's start with her trying to rewrite history. She's been going around telling people that what happened during her college years wasn't technically cheating because we were on a break. Mind you, we were not on a break. We were 100% dating. I was the idiot driving hours to visit her on weekends, bringing her gifts, meeting her friends, and believing we were solid. But according to her, because we didn't explicitly say the words exclusive back then, she didn't think it counted. That blew my mind. I told her, "If you didn't think we were exclusive, why were you introducing me to your hookups like they were your buddies? You clearly knew it was wrong." She had no answer to that. Then there's her family. They've gone full-on damage control. Her mom invited me over for dinner to talk things out, which I thought might be a chance to clear the air. Nope. It turned into an ambush intervention. Her parents, her sister, and even one of her aunts were there, all trying to convince me that I was making a mistake. They said stuff like, "She was young and confused back then," and "You've been happy all these years, so why let the past ruin everything now?" I told them point blank, because the person I was happy with wasn't real. She lied to me for 20 years and let me believe we had something special. That's not something I can just move past. Her mom started crying, Her dad looked uncomfortable, and her aunt straight up said, "Well, maybe if you had been more attentive back then, she wouldn't have felt the need to look elsewhere." That one sent me over the edge. I told them all that I wasn't going to sit there and be blamed for her choices and left. Meanwhile, my wife has started playing a new angle with the kids. She's been trying to win them over by being the fun parent. She's taking them out to fancy dinners, buying them stuff they don't need, and constantly reminding them that she's not perfect but trying her best. My daughter told me it feels like she's trying to buy their loyalty. My son, though, is not having it. He called her out on it and said, "You can't bribe your way out of this." I have to admit, I'm proud of him for standing his ground, but it also sucks because I can see how much it's hurting him. Then, there's the bombshell. Remember how I mentioned one of her old college roommates hinted there might be more to the story? Well, I guess curiosity got the better of me, and I reached out to her. I didn't ask for details, but she started talking anyway. She told me that my wife's wild years weren't just about hooking up with random guys. Apparently, there was a whole situation where she was in a short-term relationship with one of the guys she cheated on me with. She didn't just sleep with him, she dated him, introduced him to her friends as her boyfriend and everything, all while we were supposedly together. The roommate said she thought I knew about it because my wife made it sound like I was okay with the whole open relationship thing. When I told her that wasn't true, she was shocked. She apologized for not saying anything sooner, but honestly, what could she have done? She didn't owe me anything. Still, it felt like another gut punch. I can't believe my wife had the audacity to live a double life like that. I confronted her about it, and she actually tried to deny it at first. When I told her her roommate confirmed it, she admitted it but tried to downplay it. She said it was just a fling, and that she broke it off as soon as she realized she wanted to be with me. I told her, "You didn't break it off because you wanted to be with me. You broke it off because you knew I'd find out eventually. Big difference." She started crying again, but at this point, I'm so over the tears. The divorce process has been dragging because she keeps trying to stall it. She's claiming she wants more time to work things out, but I think she's just hoping I'll get tired and cave. Spoiler alert, I won't. My lawyer has been great, though. He told me we can push forward even if she drags her feet, so that's what we're doing. Now, here's the kicker, though. One of the guys she cheated with, the one she was still in contact with, turns out he didn't know she was married. He reached out to me on Facebook, completely out of the blue, after hearing about the divorce from mutual friends. He apologized for his part in all of this and said he thought she was single when they hooked up in college and later when they reconnected as friends. He said if he had known, he never would have stayed in touch with her. I don't know what to do with that information. On one hand, it's not his fault. On the other hand, it just makes me realize how much more she lied. Not just to me, but to everyone around her. It's like her whole life during those years was built on deception. At this point, I'm just trying to keep my sanity. The kids are my main focus right now. I've been spending more time with them, even if it's just watching movies or grabbing dinner. I want them to know I'm still here for them, no matter what. My son has been opening up a lot more lately, and he told me he feels like he can't trust his mom anymore. That broke my heart because no kid should feel that way about their parent, but I get it. I don't know where this is all going to end up, but I do know one thing. I'm not looking back. Too much has come to light for me to ever see her the same way again. I'm just hoping this whole mess will be over soon so I can start rebuilding my life. More updates to come if anything wild happens, but for now, it's just about surviving the chaos. Update 3. Alright, this is probably the last time I'll post about this because things have finally hit their conclusion. It's been an absolute roller coaster, and I'm just ready to move on with my life. But let me tell you how everything went down because, of course, there was one last twist I didn't see coming. First off, the divorce got finalized last week. It took way longer than it should have because my ex kept dragging her feet, claiming she needed more time to process. I'm convinced she was just trying to buy time to win me back, but that obviously didn't work. The court didn't entertain her stalling tactics for long, and my lawyer made sure we kept everything moving. She ended up with the house since it was her family's before we got married, but I got to keep my retirement savings, which I'm honestly relieved about. The kids decided to stay with me more often than not. They both technically have the option to split time between us, but my son barely speaks to his mom at this point, and my daughter said she feels more comfortable with me. I didn't push them either way because I didn't want them to feel like they had to pick sides, but it's been nice having them around. We've been spending a lot of time together, and it feels like we're finally settling into a new normal. Now, for the twist. Remember how one of the guys my ex cheated with reached out to apologize? Well, turns out he wasn't the only one who thought she was single back then. A second guy, let's call him Derek, reached out to me after hearing about the divorce. He said he felt like he needed to clear his conscience and that he was sorry for his part in everything. At first, I was like, okay, thanks, but I really don't need any more details. But Derek had something to say that completely changed the narrative. Apparently, my ex wasn't just casually hooking up with these guys or dating them on the side. She was telling some of them that I was just a clingy high school ex who wouldn't let go. Derek said she made it sound like I was stalking her, showing up uninvited on weekends and refusing to accept that she'd moved on. He even said she used to joke about how she couldn't get rid of me. Hearing that felt like a punch to the gut. It's one thing to cheat, but to completely rewrite the story to make herself look like the victim? That's next-level betrayal. I confronted her about it even though the divorce was already finalized because I felt like I needed some kind of closure. She didn't deny it. She just sat there crying, saying she was young and stupid and didn't know how to handle things back then. I told her, "You knew exactly what you were doing. You didn't just lie to me. You lied to everyone else to justify what you were doing." She didn't have much to say to that. After that, I decided I was done talking to her unless it was about the kids. She's tried to reach out a few times since then, mostly with long emotional texts about how much she regrets everything and wishes she could take it all back. I don't even respond anymore because, honestly, what's the point? As for me, I'm doing all right. It's been tough rebuilding my life after 20 years of marriage, but I'm getting there. I've started going to therapy, which has been a game changer. My therapist helped me realize that none of this is my fault and that I'm allowed to feel angry, hurt, and betrayed. She's also helped me work through the guilt I've felt about the impact this has had on the kids. Speaking of the kids, they're doing surprisingly well. My son still isn't talking to his mom much, but I've told him that he doesn't have to cut her off forever if he doesn't want to. I said it's okay to be angry and that he should take all the time he needs, but eventually he might want to try and rebuild something with her. My daughter has been more forgiving, but she's also set some boundaries with her mom, which I think is healthy. The roommate who hinted at everything back in December reached out recently too. She said she felt bad about how it all came out, but that she thought I deserved to know the truth. I told her I didn't blame her for anything and that if anything, I'm grateful she said something because otherwise, I might have never known. Here's the wildest part, though. I found out my ex is now trying to reconnect with some of the guys she cheated with. Not romantically, as far as I know, but she's been reaching out to them, apparently trying to apologize for the way she treated them too. One of them actually messaged me to say he thinks she's trying to fix her karma or something. It's honestly kind of pathetic, but I guess that's her way of dealing with the mess she created. I'm focusing on myself now. I've started going to the gym again, picked up some new hobbies, and even reconnected with some old friends I hadn't seen in years. It's weird being single after so long, but it's also kind of liberating. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm living my life for me, not for someone else. This whole experience has been a wake-up call. I spent 20 years thinking I had this perfect love story, only to find out it was built on lies. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that it's never too late to start over. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. It's not the ending I imagined, but maybe it's the one I needed. Thanks to everyone who stuck around for the updates, gave advice, and shared their own stories. It's been a wild ride, but I think I'm finally ready to move forward.